When possible, we like to try and get away from the main tourist attractions and get more into the local lifestyle. For example, here at the Khan el Khalili, the tourist market is really attractive and a lot of fun, but if you get into the side lanes, it gets even more interesting, especially when you go south of the main highway and get about 5 blocks away from the touristic market. You get into this real local scene, and you'll notice there's no other tourists walking through it, but our local guides were cooperative and willing to bring us into this local scene. It's all kind of crowded, and yet it's very safe. Completely friendly people here, no problem, just kind of crowded is all.
This is one of the oldest commercial streets of Cairo. This street remains to be a big commercial center. You can see people selling curtains, some selling inexpensive clothing, some selling toys. But the famous thing, like halfway as we start going down, we see lots of tapestry work. So this is famous for that as well. We're going to see beautiful tapestry making.
Now, this kind of crowding might not be for everybody. If you're the type of traveler who needs a lot of space and a big bubble around you, then you don't want to come down this particular street at the Cairo market. However, in the main touristic part of the Khan el Khalili, as you'll see, there's a lot more room and it's a different situation altogether. But for those who like to really dive into the authenticity of a place and rub shoulders with the locals, this street is one of the finest spots that you will ever visit in your travels. There's sort of a technique for walking through the crowds here that the locals use. They just sort of plow along, their eyes are darting back and forth, looking for hazards, looking for things to avoid, and they're cutting through on a bit of a diagonal with their shoulders sometimes leading one way or leading the other way, almost like a soccer game. Contact sport here in these lanes. But people will not be bumping, they will not be pushing, they're not rude. It's a friendly and polite place, amazingly enough. And it has quite a history. This style of living goes back at least 1,000 years, back to the Middle Ages. Often called Islamic Cairo, this neighborhood in some parts has changed very little in the last 1,000 years.
People coming into the city, coming from a long way in the desert, traveling to reach here, they're normally thirsty or looking for water. So, or for the people that didn't have the pipelines that bring the water to their homes like nowadays, so they used to go and fill from the river, practically. And some people's job were to fill from the river and then sell the water to people in their homes. Rich people, to help the poor, will make a sabil like that. It helps travelers coming into the city. It helps the poor people get free water. When they make sabil is a building that has a big cistern and inside of it.
One of the reasons these streets are so crowded is there are very few other open public spaces here in the heart of Cairo. It's estimated that only about 2% of historic Cairo is an open space like a plaza or a park. That's not very much. Whereas nearly 25% of the space is the streets. And therefore, this is where people gather, this is where they socialize, and certainly this is where they walk to get from one place to the next. And you'll notice there's no cars here, it's all walking. The ultimate pedestrian zone.
This is as far as we'll go over here, and we'll start heading back now. But just to point out, what we have over here is one of the 6 gates of Cairo. End of the 10th century AD, Cairo was built as a capital for Egypt. It was surrounded by a wall that surrounded all the city, and then had 6 gates in different points surrounding the city. This is one of them. The wooden door was coated with the metal layer over there. That's the original door.
You find a pattern of a self-contained community where you've got all the shops that you would need in a given area, plus there's the school and there's the mosque, there's the shops for food, for clothing, for hardware, and a lot of social gathering here. It's a very rich and colorful place for taking pictures. It seems that every place you point your camera, there's another wonderful frame to click away at. Getting us off of the main touristic street and into these incredibly charming side alleys, the little back streets. This is really where the Egyptian market comes to life for the locals.
We're all here. We're going to take the same way back. We're going to go over the bridge to cross to the other side of the market, all right? Where you're going to have the chance to walk a little bit freely and easier than this. It's not going to be so crowded like this here, and buy whatever you want. And then by 4 o'clock, whoever want to come back with us to the hotel, it's free of you, and whoever want to stay. Let's go. Let's go.
So when you visit the Khan el-Khalili, try and get off the main drag and into those little side alleys. The market goes for many, many blocks beyond the main street. And there you'll find some interesting characters and those little factories, and it's a wholesale market. There's different sections. There's the fabric market. There's the hardware. Like any place when you're visiting, it's a good idea to step just off the tourist track and into the real city.
It's been functioning for 8 centuries, and it still seems to be carrying on as if it's largely unchanged over the hundreds of years.
And you can get into some little shops, little factories.
Parts of the market specialize in jewelry. You'll find copper, brass, alabaster, all sorts of clothing, and tapestries and leather goods as well, too.
And these people are quite friendly on the side streets. It's very pleasant.
And it's a few miles from the downtown shopping areas, so you jump in a taxi and soon find yourself walking through these narrow medieval alleyways, transported back in time.